Maury. Since you're our sweet little newbie, I'll just mushroom stamp ya. OP. Sounds fair. Why is it fair?
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
Hello friends, and welcome back to ReddX, your source for the freshest daily cringe content anywhere on the internet. Promise swearsies, it's just a fact, and it's totally science. Go ahead, look it up, snap into a Slim Jim! But I can't live your life for you. Today, we're back in the Funky P beard. It should be an interesting one. Welcome back to user Cringy Val. She's just posting so many stories, and they are exceedingly well written. There was a big demand for this one from the comments. And there is some deep cringe ahead. Do not eat. Do not eat. Let's see how it goes today. The Curse of the Mushroom Stamp. Funky P-Beard, Part 2. And if you saw the first part, you could probably piece that together. Probably even if you didn't. But the link's in the description if you wanted to watch it. Welcome back to Shadowrun Mayhem. You may regret it. Yeah, probably. We've made it through the relatively tame introduction to this story, but henceforth, things will get gross. Capitalized with the gross. And potentially disturbing. It's been disturbing for a long time, for a myriad of reasons. OP says, yes, I would be remiss if I didn't issue a trigger warning. A running theme throughout this story is intimate partner terrorism / coercive control. Yeah, that's probably the most disturbing part for me. There's no physical intimate partner violence, but there are several instances of violence between men. Like, just with the mushroom stamps, or you guys doing butt stuff too? You know what? Don't answer. I'm not interested.
We did a ton of butt stuff.
Certain situations involve wiener and bodily fluid humor, which I can get along with, but really only when it's theoretical. This is like legit nasty. These are along the lines of things that might happen during rush week at an American university. It might even get gross enough to call for some heavy editing, though I've tried to make good use of euphemisms, so even if heavy editing isn't necessary, you should still go support ReddX on Patreon. Yes, or YouTube channel memberships. Really, Patreon only takes 5%. I think YouTube takes 30%. So if I get to choose for you, yeah, I do choose Patreon. But even if you can't afford to support, especially this time in the year, man, a lot of people cancel in like November, December. Then January rolls around, they join back up, AdSense revenue goes down. It's all a fine balance. The circle of life. With all that said, expect this chapter to include profanity, extreme profanity when Funky is speaking, smoking, crapulence, minor drug use, numerous mentions of drug use, some sexual content, and I'll slap up a cast refresher in case you're new here. If you made it through the first installment, feel free to skip these introductions. The character descriptions haven't changed yet. It's not that long, but I'm going to skip it. If you really need to hear it, go listen to part 1. Chapter 2, Curse of the Mushroom Stamp. For this run, our fixer had a connection with the Horizon Group in Los Angeles. We were to infiltrate a small media office via an underground tunnel, take over the broadcast, and create dissension with Horizon's real estate division, Pac Rim. The next run would involve a real estate scam, which, if successful, had the potential to earn us all piles of new yen and allow us to purchase some sick new gear. Provided that the fixer paid up this time. Apparently, they'd gotten completely screwed over during the last run. Yeah, if you can't trust the GM, like, how are you going to trust any of the quest givers? The GM plays all of them. He's a shady individual. Why do you guys insist on doing this, really? What sort of damage happened deep down that you feel you need to do this with your life? There's a lot of ways you could go. I try not to judge, but goddamn. We're not even into it yet. True degeneracy has not begun. So, getting the dice rolling was a real fustercluck, and it was all because of Funky. Maury wanted everyone to have a battle buddy, so he preferred to have the adept, Snorlax, and the street samurai, Funky, strategize together since they were the muscle. Having the shaman, Athena, and the mage, Sage, strategize together was always a given, but it was advantageous to the gameplay since these two handled the heavy magic. Because the team had been without a decker until I showed up, the rigger, Axton, had been handling the tech alone. Now that there was a decker on the team, my easy access to the Matrix would apparently help the gameplay. Yay! I felt useful! I don't know what it does. I probably should look it up. In Shadowrun, a decker's a person who's acquired a data jack and learned to directly interface with a cyberdeck to access the 3D virtual reality of the Matrix. Cool. That didn't help me understand anything. Oh well. So yes, the GM, Maury, wanted OP to work with Axton, but Funky sucked on his cigarette holder and bellowed his objection, smoke billowing from his bushy beard as though he were a dragon. Biggest dragon I ever seen. Funky said, I'm not letting her sit next to that pretty boy. I know her better. I can tell her what to do. Maury, you play with an entirely different set of skills. And nobody needs to tell her what to do. We just need to show her the ropes. And let her develop her own play style. Someone who plays with synergistic skills would provide more valuable insight. Feel me? Funky says, no. Surely he won't hear reason, because he's intimidated. Are you intimidated by the pretty boy? Good, I'm glad. Your actual ego is not as big as I first thought. This is all just window dressing. Now I know your weakness, Funky. Now I know how to take you down. We'll see how it goes. I could hear this conversation, and it was making my blood boil a bit. But Maury wisely pulled Funky out to the back porch to talk in private, which gave me the chance to talk to Axton. Yeah, making moves. I asked him for general tips on playing the tech side of the game, and he confirmed that decent wear was more useful than an epic deck as a starting character. In the middle of our discussion, Funky and Maury came back inside, and Funky was within earshot just as I was saying, so once you get it open, your equipment can penetrate, and then I heard it, and Axton and I both started laughing. Hey, euphemisms! Funky, what the actual Maury? Funky, calm your scrote. Let her finish the techie tutorial. Funky, you guys are talking about SEX. I composed myself. Once I infiltrate the system, your drones can get past the force field. Axton, exactly. But it was funnier the first way you said it. It was funnier the first way she said it. But also, yeah, taken out of context, I could see how the boyfriend will fly off the handle a little bit. I mean, he flies off the handle for basically nothing. But even myself walking into that situation, I'd be like, what the hell is this? I'd probably be a little more subtle in sussing out what happened. You don't want to show your entire hand immediately, but Funky's not much of a strategist, is he? OP says, it appeared to me that all of these people appreciated crude humor. I was going to fit right in. Unfortunately, Funky had relentlessly stalked the last guy with whom I'd traded dirty jokes, so this would be a balancing act. I'm pretty sure Axton can take Funky, and Funky knows it deep down in his heart, so don't worry none too much about it. Maury could see Funky starting to quake with rage, and so he called us all into the war room. He allowed us to choose our own seats, so Funky naturally pulled me all the way across the room from Axton, and instantly started hovering over my shoulder and talking my ear off about the sick moves that he could do as a street samurai. Yeah, that was not helpful. That woman's nethers is drier than the Sahara. What are we gonna do? Tell him more about the street samurai. He's a samurai from the streets. How could a woman possibly not be into that? This team didn't treat the planning phase of their game the way that most Shadowrun players do. From what I now understand, the planning phase should only take a few hours and it's all strategy. According to Maury's rules, we were supposed to propose a hypothetical action, roll a dice to see if we would succeed. If it didn't, then the glitch would earn one of Maury's punishments. This and, so many other distractions, many of which were not Maury's doing, would drag the planning phase out until Sunday afternoon. What? What? This doesn't sound fun at all. We're just in stasis. Nothing is actually happening right now. I'm going home. I'm going home to cry in the shower. So fast forward a few hours. OP and friends had been rolling the dice for a while, and it was beginning to feel like the planning phase should have already wrapped up. Maury's donger had already made 2 appearances. So far, I had only glitched once, resulting in me having a sip of Funky's beer. I got lucky and managed to successfully dampen the Matrix noise on the next roll, so I was in the clear for the time being. But if I glitched again, I'd have to pay the piper and face the phallus. Yes, a strange man. A man that you only just met today. This just does not seem like a healthy experience. I guess we all know that, but I'm having a real hard time getting through it. So the team was sitting in a misshapen circle around the battle map that was spread on top of the conference table, and I was flabbergasted by the alcohol tolerance that everyone else seemed to possess. Nobody had puked, nobody even seemed all that drunk. And everyone was drinking a beer or a cocktail on top of the 7 fireball shots that they had slammed. Personally, I was drinking water, a faux pas for which the entire team mocked me, albeit in a good-natured manner. Yeah, that's how it starts, isn't it? Till they really drag you into the mud. You have to be an alcoholic just like us. Wow, are you sure? You guys seem really miserable. No, come on! It's gonna be great. It's exactly as fun as we make it look. Okay, but you guys don't make it look that fun. I still think I'm gonna go home. Funky had gotten clingy AF by this point. He'd pulled me into his lap and was constantly looking over my shoulder at my character sheets, whispering suggestions and pawing all over me. I used to be an affection junkie before Funky and I became a couple, but this pawing was just annoying. And if Funky clocked a display of affection between Sage and Athena, he would try to grab my chest or shove my hand down his pants, presumably in an attempt to one-up the local power couple. Oh yeah? You kissed your girlfriend at the gaming table? Well, that finger blasted mine. Dude, I think those two things are a couple steps apart. I don't know. It's not a competition. Just calm down. When I smacked his hands away from my offended little bosom or yanked my own hand out of his fancy pants, he would call me a slut. You don't even try to make sense of that. That's just what nice guys do. That's definitely how he categorizes like every woman in the world. He just said it out loud this time. On the gaming front, I felt completely lost when it came to the rules of the roles. What exactly was edge? Well, it used to be called tantric intercourse, and then around the 90s it started to get called edging. In the current years of 2020 whatever, they call it gooning. So yes, the vocabulary changes, but the idea remains the same. Why did we sometimes get to roll twice and sometimes only once? And why did some rolls count for multiple actions? But at least Maury's narration was entertaining. He threw in plenty of plot twists and unexpected monkey wrenches, and he was extremely patient when I asked for clarification about what I was rolling for, what unfamiliar terms meant, or which actions would benefit the objective. Funky, on the other hand, was not patient. He would talk over Maury's answers to my questions, usually just to bloviate about how wicked cool it was to be a street samurai. God, you are really hung up on that, aren't you? You're not an actual samurai, fella. He would let out an audible, dramatic, exasperated sigh and mutter the word noob every single time I needed an explanation. This is not helpful. It's not helpful at all. And I was getting fed up with all of this. I had honestly expected to hate the whole experience and to not get along with his friends because I predicted that they would all be as unpleasant as Funky. But his Shadowrun friends were fun. The game was confusing AF, but it definitely had the potential to be fun. Funky was the killjoy. Well, no shit. I mean, you're only dating him out of a fear for your own life at this point, right? If his friends were actually as bad as he was, I don't think you would have left that house, OP. I think you would have been chopped up into little bits and put under the floorboards. It was almost my role again when Maury suddenly shouted, "Chug!" At that point, every member of the team polished off whatever alcoholic beverage they'd been nursing. I played along and chugged my water. Maury, refills! So the entire team returned to the fuel station to grab another alcoholic beverage. I grabbed another water. Funky filled a solo cup with Jack Daniels and added a splash of Dr. Pepper. Just as everyone was settling back into the war room, the doorbell rang. Pizza! Nutritious, delicious pizza! Sage scrambled to the door and took several large pizzas from the delivery guy. The team opened all the pizza boxes, spread them out across the conference table, obscuring the battle map, and everyone took a slice or two. Maury, it is time for the Friday feast. OP, since you're new here, you can roll for the movie. OP, the movie? Maury, we paused the game for the feast, but we'll need some entertainment. OP, sure. What movies do we have on hand? Maury, it's a surprise. Just roll. I rolled a 4. Maury took a sheet of paper out from under his GM binder that had the names of 6 different movies written on it. Number 4 was Frankenpenis, starring none other than John Wayne Bobbitt. Oh, God.
Let's just do this.
Maury, she has rolled for Frankenpenis. The room erupted in laughter. Even I was laughing. I had always thought Frankenpenis was a movie where they filmed John Wayne Bobbitt's enlargement surgery. Not exactly what a sane person would choose to watch while eating pizza. At least we weren't eating hot dogs, I guess. Yeah, covered in ketchup. In reality, the surgery takes a back seat, and it's pretty much a straight-up adult film. Lots of slow motion, lots of lingering close-ups on the titular character, plenty of cringe. I highly recommend. Not the sort of thing I can review on YouTube, unfortunately. But can you say patrons and members only, huh? By the time 30 minutes or so had passed, everyone seemed to be finished eating, but the booze was flowing even more freely, and no one showed any concern for getting back to the planning phase. In fact, they had managed to turn the movie watching into a drinking game. We were supposed to take a drink every time someone said the medical term for male anatomy, or any slang term for male anatomy. Funky had graduated from fireball shots to Goldschlager shots, in addition to the Jack and Pepper that he was nursing, and he was boasting about his superior alcohol tolerance. Yet again, I feared that a case of alcohol poisoning was somewhat inevitable, but these people still seemed relatively sober, even the Schlager shooting Funky. Oh, just you wait. The bottom's gonna drop out before you know it. And once it does, there ain't no going back. He drove you here. You can't even drive yourself home. Or you call a cab, whatever. I would have done. First night, I would have done. It was getting close to midnight by the time the movie ended, and I was fading. I was ready to go home and sleep, but I had almost 2 full days to go. Balls. I should have brought a cooler full of balls. Balls Guarana. It was my favorite energy drink at the time, and it absolutely got me through grad school. Dude, balls is delicious. No joke. I used to drink that too. Not religiously. Red Bull's the one that got my forever patronage, but occasionally a nice glass of balls. Maury, we are officially back in the war room. Get ready for initiative, chummers. Athena, should we move the pizza boxes into the kitchen so we can see the battle map? Maury, we can leave them. We shall remain gathered in the tunnel for the time being. When Funky's turn came around, he rolled his second glitch. The room erupted in hooting and hollering in anticipation of yet another appearance of Maury's junk. I mean, his junk was pretty much always visible through the sheer fabric of his boxers. Literally, I could tell he was cut long before he whipped it out to smack Snorlax in the noggin. Is it just like super extendable or what? People kneel down before it to be tapped on the face? This is just an ego trip of another level. Like, I wish I had a grasp of what was going on here. Why people allowed these things to happen. Infinite emotional damage. That's my working theory. I don't know how to fix it. Funky reluctantly stood, trudged over to Maury, and sat down. It was customary to kneel, but Funky's height put him above junk level if he knelt. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. This is still weird as fuck. Why would anybody do this?
What the hell is wrong with you people?
I've heard of tabletop horror, but this is like tabletop never-ending nightmare fuel. I just want to go home, please. Maury, slap or kiss. Funky, slap, please, God, slap. Maury, you always choose to get slapped. Are you a masochist, Funky? Funky, no, that's why I always choose to slap. Maury, I'm afraid it's gotta be a kiss. This time. Funky, through clenched teeth, dude, my girlfriend is here. Maury, all the reason to show her you're man enough. Pucker up, buttercup. We still all about this life, huh? we still going down the same road, huh? Okay. Was I horrified by this? OP says no. No, I wasn't. I had witnessed similar antics at theater parties. Yeah, theater kids and band kids, man. Every time. And when I was an undergrad, I heard horror stories about fraternity initiations that made Maury's exhibitionism seem like a show at Disneyland. Plus, I was pretty sure that if Funky had adamantly refused, Maury would have forgone the punishment. But all these people seem to worship Maury, Funky included. None of them would dare stand up to the almighty GM who was, if Funky is to be believed, a kinky bastard. OP, I think seeing is believing. Are we still disbelieving at this point? I suspected that Maury might have been creepily abusing his power, or maybe these games of gross out were just part of their depraved fun. I'm probably just overthinking it. Yeah, everyone there seems to be having a good time. You're all grown adults, supposedly, who can make their own decisions, so far be it from me to be like, you have to stop, but I'm not going to participate, not at all. Funky closed his eyes tightly, grunted, and mashed his gargantuan beard against the staff. There was a bit of growth. Now, this shocked me a bit, but Funky had kept his eyes tightly closed the entire time and scurried back to his Jack and Pepper, drained it, and dramatically wiped his bushy beard on the back of his hand once the staff punishment was over. I don't think he had noticed that little spring in Maury's ding, and I certainly wasn't going to tell him about it either. But the other members of the team, they weren't letting this go. Yeah, Maury's into beards. So what? It just reminds him of the good old glory hole down at the old bus station, you know?
I thought I'd find you here at the old glory hole!
Axton says, dude, Maury got a semi! Snorlax, Funky, I think Maury likes you. Better watch out, OP. Part of me wanted to laugh. And the other part of me wanted to make sure that Funky didn't freak out. But, it was my turn to roll. Yes, just move on past it. Everybody try and forget, okay? Bury this deep down in your subconscious. I got lucky and succeeded in bricking the Horizon security device, so I was off the hook for a while. Funky pulled me back into his lap and whispered, "Did he really?" OP. No, not really. Barely. I think he did it for shock value. Yeah, that's not how those things work. That's an automatic response. You can't will yourself into a boner. Usually trying to will yourself into it wills yourself right out. You know? You're thinking too much. Funky shuddered, but then I started to feel something poking me in the hip. Oh, that's what gets Funky going, huh? Well, no kink shame, but definitely no kink same. I tried my best to ignore the poking, but Funky was making that difficult. The yearning for solitude was pounding inside of my skull by this time, and I was pretty much over this whole planning phase, the constant presence of Maury's junk, the constant pressure of Funky's junk, just a lot of gross junk. Plus, I was barely getting the hang of this game. Funky kept bragging to me about his street samurai skills, but he knew fuck all about the tech side of things, and he threw a hissy fit if I tried to talk to Axton about Matrix-related aspects of the game. Just a whole lot of real small PP energy going on right now. OP says, this got especially irritating when I was trying to hack into a storage bunker so that Axton could access some kind of spider robot that would allow him to clear a path for us in the tunnel. Funky became so irate that he eventually demanded that I pose the question to Maury, who would get the information from Axton and then relay the response to me, even though we were all sitting within earshot of one another. It was just like Harry and Ron's behavior in the Goblet of Fire, and Maury was not an owl. He might not be an owl, but it looks like he enjoys a good cockatoo, right? Funky says, I've had it with your helpless little noob crap, Pixie. Quit worrying about what Pretty Boy needs. Quit asking Daddy GM stupid questions every time you roll. You should have studied. And so help me, if there's some cool shit that I want in that storage bunker, and you hack Pretty Boy's dumbass spider instead of attending to my needs, I'll find a way to tip off security and hit your ass with black ice. He vocalizes all this in front of his friends, and nobody's like, maybe we should get some help for that girl. She might not be here of her own free will. Maury says, enough, Funky. We need that spider mech in order to safely forge ahead. You can loot for toys later. You will not attack my Decker, and you will not impede my Rigger's acquisition of a mech that will benefit the team's objective. Funky, but she's being selfish, and he's only pretending to need that dumbass spider because he's looking for an excuse to talk to her. Who's the selfish one? Pot? Kettle? Just whole lots of pots and kettles sitting around here. I felt defeated before I'd even rolled. Just when I thought I was catching on, at least enough to understand my objective, I would be screwed if I attempted to carry out the objective because Funky would continue to be disruptive and rude. And if I kowtowed to Funky's demands for toys, then I'd screw over the entire rest of the team. I pulled the hood of my sweatshirt over my head and imagined redistributing my skill points so that I could remain cloaked for the rest of the evening. Oh, if only it were that easy. Rockin' a hard place. And you know these alcoholics ain't gonna listen to reason, so good luck. So when my turn rolled back around, I didn't have the wits to strategize. Funky was still hovering over my shoulder, now slurring suggestions that made absolutely no sense to me, but what the hell? I was too tired to call him out on yet another display of the Dunning-Kruger effect. I went with this suggested action and got myself booted out of the Matrix. Needless to say, this constituted a glitch. The room erupted. I was too mentally numb to care. Still 2 more days to go. we could still get out of here right now if you really wanted to. Maury says, Miss Funky,
You know what you gotta do.
I staggered up. Please don't call me that, Maury.
Understood. But you must nevertheless play by our rules.
OP, it's fine. Hit me. Maury, excitedly.
Spanking.
OP, no, dude, just smack me in the face with it, Maury.
Since you're our sweet little newbie, I'll just mushroom stamp ya.
OP, sounds fair. Why is it fair?
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
Yes, I rolled badly in the game, and now I have a man's penis pressed against my face. Everything going according to plan. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? I knelt in front of him. Why wasn't I horrified? Why wasn't I offended? At the time, I chalked it up to too much exposure to these wild theater parties, combined with a genuine desire to be a good sport and play along with these absurd antics. Good sport, great sport, hell of a sport. I was also too exhausted to really give a crap, which could have very well been a calculated manipulation tactic on Maury's part. Oh, some Kubrick-esque direction here. In reality, and I apologize for getting serious for a moment, this was the early 2010s, and there still existed an overarching, largely unspoken societal expectation for women to calmly and coolly tolerate objectification. Don't worry, I have subsequently amended my stance on mushroom stamps. Amending views, that's good, that's healthy, that's growth most of the time, you know? As long as you don't end up in another situation like this, then those are probably good views to hold. Anyway, Maury whipped out his already visible junk and pressed his little head to my forehead, and that's when Funky flew into a rage. Yeah, we knew this was gonna happen. His tall frame almost cleared the coffee table, but Funky was a little drunky, so his lurching, lanky limbs sent several pizza boxes, as well as their contents, flying into the air and onto the already stained carpet. He tripped over Sage's leg, but still managed to land a punch on the side of Maury's face. And Maury hit back, punching Funky square in the gut. Funky proceeded to projectile vomit shimmery cinnamon booze and Italian sausage pizza all over Maury and his see-through boxers, and then he collapsed in a heap on the floor. Damn, dude. I guess we know who got the worst. Maury took it on the chin. He's like, okay, you want to play this game? Boom! Why are you drinking gold flakes in your vodka? What are you, a little high school girl, huh? You saw the Superbad movie, didn't you? You're like, oh my god, that sounds delicious. I have to drink that forever. I hope it poisons you. I hope you never stand back up. No, he didn't say any of that. Those are my words coming out of his mouth. OP says, I was frozen in stunned silence. Yeah, you thought your boyfriend was a tough guy, but that's only because he picks on girls. He's a frail little baby man. Look at him. One punch and he's fucking done. Stand up, stupid. Finish your fight. And I was suddenly painfully alert and preparing myself for the worst. Because with Funky, it could get much, much worse than a projectile vomit-inducing fist fight. Good, super, let me see it. Maury stripped completely nude and threw his puke-riddled clothes into a tiny pile on the floor. He then began spreading the remaining shimmery upchuck all over his body. Oh, why? Seemingly treating it as a vile form of luxurious body glitter. Dude, ew. I don't think ew even begins to cover it. What? This is the worst type of human being. I want to go home yesterday. I shouldn't be here anymore. Funky was struggling to stand up, but Sage stepped in between them. Sage, as assistant GM, I demand a truce. Maury, you've had your Roman shower. Now go take a proper shower. Funky, to the backyard. Everyone else remain seated. Maury, will this serve as vomit cleanup punishment? Maury, yes. Sage, then everyone leaves it untouched. Next person to glitch is gonna clean it up. I mean, cleaning up vom is not an ideal situation, but to me, it sounds better than staring a stranger's staff right in its singular eye, you know? I don't really want to do either. The fact that I could leave right now and have to do neither is very tempting. I don't know why more people aren't doing it. They really just want to fit in? Be part of the crew? Okay, whatever, I guess. So Sage helped Funky to his feet and escorted him to the backyard. I felt like I should follow them. Sage, I know you're just defending your girlfriend. I get it. Take a beat to calm down. He patted a panting Funky on the shoulder and went back inside. I sat down and offered Funky a sip of my water. He declined with a huff. Oh, poor little baby boy. Now he's gonna play the victim. Did you see how I got punched for you? OP, listen, I just thought that was part of the game. I don't understand why it has to be part of the game, but Funky, how dare you allow another man's junk to touch you? What? You? Oh my god, you brought her here! You put her in this situation! Is that not computing at all? Just the worst. OP says, well, it wasn't really a sexual thing. Funky said, it's freaking Maury! Everything is like that for him. OP, then it obviously didn't mean anything at all. Funky, that makes no sense. OP, yes it does. If everything is sexual, then there's nothing exceptionally exciting about what he did. Again, I just thought it was part of the game, and I was trying to be a good sport. Yeah, she'd been through hell and back for you. I cannot name even one singular woman who would agree to a situation like this. Wifey? Yeah, she's ride or die, but she knows that I'm not gonna put her to shit situations. That's why she's ride or die, you see? Then Funky asks, do you think he's bigger than me? Oh, God. God! OP says, well, I wasn't really paying attention to that. What does it even matter? Funky, it matters! OP, okay. From the little information I have, I'd wager that yours is definitely bigger. I wasn't mentally measuring ding-dongs at this point. I just knew that only one answer would keep Funky from flying into another rage. God help us all if Maury got a full chub and proved to be more well-endowed than Funky. I mean, if you got a little peepee, it's fine, you know? You just don't act like it all the time. Have some confidence in yourself. Love your body for whatever shape it takes, alright? Funky says, okay, that makes me feel better. Yes, you're a special little boy with a great big peepee, aren't you? OP says, I won't accept any more punishments if it upsets you this much. Funky, you have to take a punishment if you glitch. Those are the rules. Okay, and then are you gonna cry like a baby every time? OP said all the punishments seem to involve Maury's junk or his b-hole or some BDSM nonsense. I'm gonna go out on a limb and guess that the spankings have to be on a bare ass. Funky, yeah, but just ask him to make you kiss Athena or something. Not degenerate enough. I laughed out loud, and OP says, okay, I'll try that. We'll see how Maury likes a punishment that he doesn't get to actively dole out. Funky, you're sweet, Pixie. Ugh, Pixie. That's the worst name ever. As a pet name, truly, I hate it. He grabbed my hand and pulled me in for a kiss, and then I noticed the vomit residue in his funky beard. Funky puke beard. Now that I can type without turning my spine into powder. Well, you must have been trained well. I aimed for his forehead instead of guessing the location of his lips under that pukey tumbleweed on his face. But before I could land the kiss, he yanked his hand away, whipped his head to the side, and yelled, psych! Loser! OP, are you 12? Stop doing that. Funky, you're no fun. OP, I think we have different definitions of fun. Hey, does Sage have a coffee maker? I'm exhausted and I don't know how much more I can take. Funky.
Yeah, he does. But we have to play until sunup, and then we're allowed to nap.
Allowed to nap? How do you let somebody else take control of your life like this? I looked at my watch. It was 1 a.m. I briefly considered drinking 10 shots of Fireball just so I could get carted off to the hospital with alcohol poisoning and finally get some goddamn sleep. Talk is cheap. I mean, there's a lot of ways this can end. Not all of them end at the hospital. Just explain that you no longer want to participate. What? Funky seems to be a reasonable individual. Surely he'll agree with his lady's choice to go home, no? Oh, instead he wants to sit here in a pile of puke and his own poop and get mad at another guy's ding-dong. Yeah, that sounds like a much better use of your weekends, you know? Good luck with all of that. I hate it. I can only imagine how much worse it gets. We're going to find out in the next episode. I hope you enjoyed this one, friends. Like, comment, sub if you did. Thank you as always to my Patreon patrons, my YouTube channel members. On the end card, I've linked you to tabletop horror, a little bit RPG horror story type of stuff. Yeah, there's a playlist for that. I think you'll enjoy the other ones we've done before this. So please do click on through. Always remember, friends, that you are loved, you are worthy, you definitely deserve it. And I shall see you in the next one. So until then... bye-bye. Go ahead and cut them open. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine.
Promise swears it's just a fact.